Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today I'm going to release this not a new build, it's something that a lot of people have been trying over the last few updates, and that's a bow build. This is a Warden. I call it the Sniper. Kind of a weird name, I know, but it does work. But unfortunately, because of the way the game is, bow just isn't the greatest option. Now, bow does do the same damage as a staff or a sword, like a melee, one-handed melee weapon. It can do decent damage, but we just don't have the AoE capability that, or not just AoE capability, but the damage capability of anything else. The attacks on the bow are really kind of slow. Now this build is set up for as best as I can set it up. So let's go ahead and take a look at it here in a second. Now first off, before I go any further, this is not a meta build, but it is a meta setup. So we are using 100% in-game kind of gear. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. As you can see here, we have a 10k max magicka, a 17k health, 34k stamina. Our recoveries are kind of low, but don't stress that, because if you know how to play the builds, you can do pretty good. On the front bar, we have a 3208 weapon damage with a 50% crit. We have an 11k spell with a 12k physical, and if you swap bars, you go down to 2800 weapon damage. Almost a 400 point difference in weapon damage. It's pretty scary. We are running the Warrior Munda Stone, and we are using max health, max stam food. That's how we get this set up the way we do. Now going into the gear, we are not using a monster set. Now I will say this: if you have a group that has enough like ability to reach pin cap, then you don't need this setup. You can actually go with a different setup, which I'll show you in a second. So the two sets we're running is a 5-piece Spriggans with a 5-piece Hunting's Rage. We are just running two 5-piece sets, and the main, or Night Mother's Gaze, sorry, not Hunting's, Night Mother's Gaze. And the reason I chose this combination was for the greater penetration values. Now you can run a Hunting's Rage and Venom set, the Poisonous Serpent set from, I want to say it's a ESO, like Sanctum Ophidium. It's a really good set, because whenever you deal light or heavy attack against an enemy who has poison damage on them, you deal additional poison damage. It's kind of like wearing a 5-piece set with a monster set, with like a 3-piece jewelry set and a monster set. It's a really good set, but still just doesn't compete. So I'll go ahead and just show you guys what this looks like with the Vicious Ophidian set on. And there we go. So this is what it looks like with the Poisonous Serpent set, sorry. And as you can see, we actually get two 5-piece bonuses no matter what bar we're on. And the damage pretty much stays the same, because the sets are identical to the Spriggans in a way, except for it doesn't give you the extra penetration value. It gives you that extra poison chance. Now, this is a very good setup right here, but still isn't the best options. Okay, these are just some options that I put together that I thought would be better, because you can't run a monster set, a 3-piece jewelry set, and like Huntings with this. It really doesn't work, because monster sets, most of them you have to be up close unless you're running like Vulcan Scoria or something, or you're running Illumbras or something like that, and both of those really don't play into this well. But this setup still kind of works, and we'll get to that in a second. So if you don't have full penetration, run Spriggans with this set. If you do, run Poisonous Serpent, because it's going to be the better option because of that extra poison damage it's going to do. Now, The nice thing about this set is it does the damage every 1 second. So every time you do a light attack in your rotation, you'll be able to get that poison damage to proc. So that's pretty nice. On the sets here, we are running all divines with stamina enchants. On the jewelry, we are running 3 weapon damage, as you can see. And then on the weapons, we're running a master bow with a maelstrom bow on the back bar. The reason I chose a master bow is because this increases our weapon damage against targets affected by poison arrow by 301. So all of our weapon damage for our bow abilities gets increased by 301 weapon. Gets increased by 301 weapon damage. So it's kind of nice because we can break that 5k mark on weapon damage if we have somebody with excuse me, with oh my god, I can't even think of what it is. Almost 5k weapon damage, sorry. If somebody's running Spell Power Cure, and if somebody's running Powerful Assault, you can break 5k weapon damage with this build, which makes it really good on damage. But you have to reach that penetration cap, and the reason I chose Night Mother's Gaze was because of that. So, on the bows themselves, we are running a Nirnhone front bar with a poison enchant, and on the back bar, we're running a weapon damage enchant on an infused Maelstrom bow. So, like I said, really simple setup, kind of. And now let's go take a look at the skills. So moving on to the skills here. On the front bar, before I get too far into this and I go over the skills, I need to talk about passives. Make sure you get your passives. This is a Warden, by the way. Nightblade is a little better. I'm not going to lie, damage-wise, they can push the DPS a little bit better than the Warden can. Sork's a little bit better than that, because they do get 5% increase in physical damage. So, you have a good mix of classes that are really good at this. The DK isn't very good because you have to rely on using, like, Noxious Breath and Poison Talon, possibly, and you don't really have a range stamina skill. And the Nightblade doesn't either, but the Nightblade does have some other things that we don't. So, and then of course the Templar's just not in it at all. Sorry, Templars. But yeah, so make sure you get all your class passives. This is really important to make sure that you have them. Even though you might not be using the abilities, there is some things in there that you can use the benefits of. So, moving down the bow line, make sure you get all the bow passives. Armor, medium armor, you want all the passives. Now, the better option for this is to go full medium armor, so that way you get the greater benefit of crit. You get the Windwalker passives, you know, maxed out and all that kind of stuff. But I believe the way we have this set up, you guys will see why I say that. So, but yeah, just make sure that you have 5. You're wearing the full thing of medium armor for this. All right, moving on. Heavy armor. Don't really need the passives here, or the light armor one. We are wearing a 5-1-1 setup with this, but you don't really need it if you can get away with using all medium. Red Guard is going to be better for that, and Wood Elf would be second best to the Khajiit. So it would go Red Guard, Khajiit, and then Wood Elf. Moving down the line here, passive-wise, Fighters Guild, you don't really need some of these, but I go ahead and unlock them. Mages Guild, just Persuasive Will. Undaunted, make sure you get the Undaunted passives. On the Alliance skills, you don't really need any of them, but I went ahead and got these two because I did add them to my rotation. It's up to you. There is other skills you can get from the Undaunted line, like you can use Trapping Webs, which is kind of nice if you want with the build instead of Caltrops. And then in place of Vigor with this build, you can actually use the Green Balance ability, Fungal Growth, morphed into the Stamina version. So you do have an option here. Racials, make sure you get all your racial passives, especially if you're playing the Khajiit version. Alchemy, medicinal use, and provisioning Gorman and Counter Sword. Any race you play, you want to make sure you get the passives. So, going through the skills on the bar, on the front bar, we are running Poison Injection. So that way we get that Poison Arrow effect, where we get that 301 weapon damage extra. So we want this to be up, or be consistent. So, really good bonus there. Lots of decent damage, I'm going to say. And then next one we have Draining Shot. This is going to be a way to heal yourself a little, and it does a decent amount of damage. The next ability we have is Lethal Arrow. Now this is the Snipe Morph, and it does a decent amount of damage, but it has a long cast time. After that we have Cutting Dive. This does a lot of damage, and it's got some decent range. The next ability we have after that is Resolving Vigor. This is a nice heal for group support and stuff, especially at range, because there isn't somebody covering usually the mages and stuff, so this gives you a way to do that. And then you have Flawless Dawnbreaker here for the extra weapon damage. You don't use this at all. It's just there for the extra weapon damage. Moving on to the back bar, we have Lightweight Beast Trap. Now you can use the rearming trap if you're up close, but you're at range most of the time. In this thing, you have to target. So when you go to use Lightweight Beast Trap, you have a 28-meter range, so you can throw it pretty far. And it only lasts for 6 seconds, so a little less capable of the rearming trap. This is mainly for the back bar use. On back bar, we have Endless Hail. Does a lot of damage. That's why we're running the Maelstrom Bow on the back bar. We have Caltrops, which does really good damage. And then we have Bird of Prey. Now, you don't have to use Bird of Prey if you don't want to. I use it for the Minor Berserk, increasing my damage by 8%. You can use the other bow ability here, Acid Spray, to give you some extra DPS if you need it. I just choose to use this because it works out a little bit better. And then next we have Bullnetch. Bullnetch is a great ability, by the way. Does stamina return, and it gives you major brutality, which you don't really need because you are running a potion. But that return of resources, it really helps you out. So, now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and cover the CP, and then we'll go over the rest of it. So, starting up here in the red tree, we have 56 in the Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage by 20%. 56 in the Thick Skin, reducing damage taken from damage over time effects by 20%. 43 in the Hardy, reducing poison, physical disease damage by 10%. Elemental Expert, or Elemental Defender, 43 with reduced damage taken from Flame Frost, Shock, and Magic damage by 10%. These two, Hardy and Elemental Defender, do stack with Thick Skin and Ironclad. Over here we have 16 in Expert Defender, reducing damage of light and heavy attacks by 10%. This also stacks with Ironclad, Hardy, and Elemental Defender, that kind of stuff. And then we have 23 in a Quick Recovery, increasing our healing received by 6%. Now this build also is pretty good for PvP, especially if you want to catch people off guard and you want to be like a scout character. You can get some pretty good shots in with this. Moving on to the green tree, 23 in the Warlord, reducing break free cost by 10%. 20 in the Sprinter, reducing sprint cost by 12%. And then 75 in the Mooncalf, increasing stamina recovery by 14. 43 in the Tenacity, increasing our stamina return from fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. Your base is 30, an extra 10 is 40%. You get a decent amount back. 56 in the Tumbling, reducing the dodge roll cost by 20%, and then 23 in the Shadow Ward. This reduces block cost by 10%. So, good combination there. You don't block a lot, but still, it's nice to have it. Moving on to the blue tree, we have 35 in the Physical Weapon Expert for our light and heavy attacks. You don't really need this for this build, to be honest. I'm actually going to redistribute this because I've done some testing with this. 10% here is going to be fine. You still want to take this up to 56 and this up to 56. Now, you have 9 points, or this 13 points you'll have left. Put it into piercing because you need all the penetration value you can get. So, this is going to be the better combination for this. On this one. 16 here, 56 in the Master at Arms, increasing your direct damage done by 20%. A lot of your abilities are direct damage, so this will help out. 43 in a Mighty increases your poison, physical poison, disease damage by 10%, and then 56 in the Thaumaturgy, increasing the damage done with damage over time by 20%. We do have a lot of damage over time abilities, so increasing that damage really helps. 56 in a Precise Strikes, increasing the damage of your, increasing the damage and healing of your critical strikes and stamina abilities by 20%. So this just increases critical damage by an extra amount. And then 13 into Piercing, increasing physical penetration by 1283. Alrighty, so that is that. Let's go ahead and, I'm going to get rid of this real quick, guys, so you guys can see the actual combat stuff. So on the parse on this skeleton, it's going to be kind of low. I'm going to be lucky if I break 16k, I'm not going to lie. But that's because I'm not accustomed to rotations like some of the top players are. You know, there's people out there that can do better rotations than me. So, but basically this build, you want to stay at ranged, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure my food is going. And before I start, I'm going to go ahead and buff up. And I'm going to do my potion, and then I'm going to start with the trap, endless hail, light attack in between all of this stuff. And always, you need to be a little bit closer for draining shot, I forgot. Always try to... Oops. I keep forgetting the trap has a limited range to it too. Or not limited range, but you have to aim it. And whenever your ultimate is up, just use it. Now I need to heavy attack a few times, so I'm going to do it after these two things. And then I'm going to do it this time around, just to keep my resources up, guys. And if you guys are wondering why my game seems to be freaking out so bad, is because I'm not used to a bow rotation. At all. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I can't get the rotation any better than this for myself. Would you stop? And it's this, they fixed the thing with the lag on the swapping bars, but there's still a really bad issue with it, and I can't stop the issue. Now, another great ability to use on your rotation, by the way, if you're doing it, is instead of using this, use those, the shulk thing that digs underground, because that thing is super powerful. And I always do this right when my potion comes up. There we go. So, 17,000 isn't too bad for me. That's kind of normal. So we did do a 17k parse. But if you need a different ability there instead of the birds, by the way, like I said, you can use this Subterranean Assault. This will actually reach 20 meters. So you still have some decent range, and you can actually swap it out for this if you want. Because this only has a very limited range. This has a 10 meter range. This has a 20 meter range. So this one allows you to have a little bit more range. And this will apply major breach and major fracture, which also helps. And it does a lot more damage. So with this kind of a setup, you can actually pull a little bit more DPS. Usually I can pull about 22 with it for myself. But anyone who knows how to play this rotation better can probably pull, and I'm just going to guesstimate here, about 30k. Okay? And that's just guesstimation with all the debuffs and everything like that. But I do want to go over this. I want to show you guys this real quick on the Parse Test, so you guys can see for yourselves. And that's if my, oh, it is working. So if you guys look, my Endless Hail, Toxic Barrage, Poison Injection, Light Attacks, Razor Caltrops, you can see all this stuff. But you're not seeing the Poisonous Serpent until down here, but you can see it did 100,000 damage total. It procced 3.6% of the time. It hit 34 times. So that's a pretty good amount of times to have that proc and do that extra poison damage of 3,000 something. So it's kind of like a monster set, like I said. It gives you that same benefit. Now if I were to switch to Spriggans, I'd actually pull about 26k with this, because I have the greater penetration value. And if I put a Crusher enchant on there, on the build, on the front bar with an infused weapon, I can actually pull more DPS. I know it sounds crazy because I'm giving up the Nirnhome to go infused, but you can. But only by a little bit more. It's usually like maybe 1,000 more over that 26k. So, but like I said, somebody who knows this rotation better can play this build a lot better. So, I'm not very good at it. Not gonna lie. I can play a DK rotation, like a mag DK rotation really easily. I can play a Stam DK rotation pretty easy. If it has heavy attacks in it, I can play it really easy. If it has a light attack weave, I can't do it. And this is a light attack weave rotation. So, but that's pretty much the build, guys. And like I said, you're not seeing the total damage DPS output this build really can have. It has about a 28 to 32k if you know the rotation, and you have like all the group debuffs on the boss. So, and that's if you are really good with this rotation and you can pull it off. Not a lot of people can. Not with a bow. With a staff, it's a little easier, but with a bow, it's a lot harder. And the reason it's a lot harder with a bow, and I want to be clear on this, is because you're using a one-hand or a two-handed weapon like you do a staff. And with most Magicka builds are running about 44k Magicka versus your 34k, and they're running about 4k spell damage to your almost 5k weapon damage. So you got to think about that. Now I'll show you this real quick too, just so you guys can believe me. So we're sitting at a 3743 weapon damage here, and when you get Spell Power Cure, you're at 4k. And if you get Powerful Assault, you can get more out of it. But it depends on if you have your 20% to weapon damage applied. Because when you get Spell Power Cure applied, it does get the 20% increase. So that does get that, and then when you get Powerful Assault, it gets another, that's applied. And the way that the percentages apply is, if you take the value of everything, your baseline, like Spell Power Cure, the Powerful Assault on there, without the potion, for example, you're gonna be looking at about 3,700 anyways. Then you add 20% to 3,700, and then it goes up to almost. It's more or less like about 4,600 when it's all buffed up, but it's still enough to put you close to 5k weapon damage. And then with the 301 you get from the poison arrows, from this does not get the 20% increase. You just get 301 weapon damage against the target affected by poison arrow, and for the length of time that poison arrow lasts. So poison arrow can last quite a bit of time here. 10 seconds, so it's pretty good. But like I said, Nightblades do this a little better, and Sorks are better than them. But you have to, like, have the right build set up for them to work really well. So that's, yeah, that's it. That's the sniper. Hope you guys like the Bobo build. Like I said, Bobo build is not as good as it sounds, or as good as it could be, and that's because we just can't reach the higher values that we need. So, but it's still pretty good. But if you guys like the build, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more builds by me, you can hit that subscribe button. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you again. Bye.